Michael Reyes.
Troy Whittemore.
Abraham Gallows.
Ronald Mills.
Frank Orozco.
Miles Garza.
We have a quorum. Please proceed.
Thank you. Notice of a public meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code. The Texas Open Meeting Act notice is hereby given that the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, has scheduled a regular meeting on Thursday, May 2nd, 2019, at 5:30 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall Old Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas, 78520. Item number 1, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on April 4th, 2019.
We're going to table those until next month, please. I need a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Troy and a second from Mr. G for table. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Public hearings, item number 2, public hearing in action, the Woodlands number 2C subdivision final plat.
This subdivision is 8.95 acres. It's 47 residential lots, and it's located near Heritage Oak Drive, and we do find the application complete. Here is an aerial. Here is the plat.
Mr. Troy, somebody? I need a motion to find it complete.
I'll find a motion to find complete.
Second.
I have a motion from Frank and a second from Troy to find complete. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3.
Item number 3, public hearing in action, Rosewood Estates, Section 1, final plat.
This property is 30.223 acres. It is 72 residential lots and 1 reserve area, and we do find the application complete.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to find complete. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 4, public hearing in action, Hacienda West subdivision, Section 10, final plat.
This is 2.344 acres, 16 residential lots. Excuse me. This is incorrect. We do find it complete.
It is complete?
It is complete.
Okay.
Make a motion to find it complete.
Second.
I have a motion from Troy and a second from Michael to find complete. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 5, public hearing in action, Santander subdivision, Phase 4, final plat.
This subdivision is 9.62 acres, 36 residential lots, and we do find it complete.
Move to find it complete.
Second.
I have a motion from Michael, second from, my brain just died.
Frank.
From Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 6, public hearing in action, El Valle HQ subdivision, final plat.
This plat is 5.14 acres. It will consist of 2 commercial lots and 1 single-family lot. We do find it incomplete. It's missing the items on the screen.
Make a motion to find it incomplete.
A motion from Troy and a second from Mr. G. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 7.
Item number 7, public hearing in action on ordinance number 235-2017-063-S-MA to grant a major amendment allowing a mobile vendor food court, a general retail use, and a general retail G for a portion of Block 39 and 40, Los Ebanos Property Subdivision, Share 22, Espiritu Santo Grant, located at 834th North Expressway, Brownsville, Texas, 78521.
This property is 1.564 of an acre, and the proposed use is a mobile vendor food court. So this is the first major amendment since the ordinance changed back in 2016 that we're actually moving forward. That's why we have the new number, the -MA on it. So here's the zoning of the area. This is along the expressway. Along the expressway, it's mostly general retail, 4th commercial. Behind this property is a residential area with a dwelling zoning. This is part of the linkage corridor in our future land use map. The linkage corridor is primarily commercial and institutional land uses. Residential uses should have a density of 6 dwelling units per acre and primarily be single-family detached dwelling and townhouses. Here's the aerial. To the north, there's a pawn shop, commercial business. To the east, hotel and commercial business. To the south, single-family dwelling and commercial business. And to the west, hotel, single-family dwelling and commercial business.
So this is the field that's located between the FedEx and the teacher store, is that correct? Am I correct in my preference?
So right here is a hotel, and right here is a hotel, and I believe right here is the Toucan Lounge.
Okay,
believe it's
okay,
what's
now,
called.
okay, now.
So the specific use that was previously granted in 2017, the business is already operating, so it doesn't look like this anymore. But this is what it used to look like.
Yeah,
It already looks like.
It's right on the expressway. There's a hotel it's next to. Here's a 200-foot radius map. Here is the site plan. So it's all existing. The addition is right here. They're adding a shading canopy.
that's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Does staff support?
Staff does support the major amendment to allow a mobile vendor food court in general retail 4CG with the condition that the property must comply with all city codes and regulations as determined through the site plan review process. And there were 18 mailouts and no opposition.
Have we done the process that we normally go through for food courts where they get everybody to sign off? Has that been done?
Yes, this has already been approved by several different divisions.
Okay.
I so move to close the public hearing.
No, we haven't opened it yet.
Second.
We have to open it first. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Anybody here?
She will speak, reading it out.
All right. Now you can make your motion. Mr. G made a motion to close and Troy second. All in favor?
Aye.
I think
Go
we had
ahead.
somebody that wanted to say.
Oh, there is
something.
somebody to say something? Okay, that's why I asked. So. Somebody wanted to say something? No? All right.
Nope.
The motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'll
Action.
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion from Frank and a second from Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 8, public hearing and action on ordinance number 235, 2018-037-S to allow apartments and apartment use in dwelling H for Lot 1, Block 1, Via La Paz subdivision located at 265 Calle Milpa Verde, Brownsville, Texas 78521.
So this property is 2.364 of an acres. It's currently zoned dwelling H, and they're requesting a specific use permit to allow apartments. And it's fronting two different streets, Milpa Verde and Lima Street. So when you see the map, it might look familiar. This is a 2018 case, so it did come before this commission last year, in which case you approved the H area district and supported a specific use permit. So this is the follow-up of that. They had to go through and actually subdivide the property. They platted it, so that's why it took a little bit longer.
Okay.
Okay, so we approve.
So this property, the area around this property is mostly dwelling, although along Milpa Verde, you're going to find different uses, including general retail and medium retail, as well as some apartment uses. So this is the core east district in our future land use map, which is primarily residential with large amounts of community facilities. Residential uses should have an average density of 3 dwelling units per acre and consist of single-family homes. So here's the aerial. In all directions, you're going to find single-family dwelling. Also to the south, you're going to find commercial business. So this is from Google Maps, so it looks like a clear field now, but it used to be used for this.
Okay.
Okay, here's the 200-foot radius map. Staff supports a specific use permit to allow apartments and apartment A use in dwelling H with the condition that the property must comply with all city codes and regulations as determined through the site plan review process. There were 47 mailouts and 0 written opposition.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Does anybody questions on this? Motion to close?
Make a,
Motion closed?
Motion, who did it? Michael? Motion to close by Michael?
I'll second.
Second by Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
why is it that we do a specific use again versus upzoning?
The
Or is that
future-
like what we did before, or?
Yes, so the future land use plan doesn't support apartments in this district, but because of the location, they might have been suitable, so that's why you recommended that instead they got a
I
specific.
vaguely remember the case.
Okay.
Okay, I need action?
The staff supports this?
Yes.
Move to approve?
Second.
Michael, motion to approve. Mr. G, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Miles?
I'll withdraw it. I'll vote for it.
You're okay, unanimous for it? The motion carries. Number 9.
Item number 9, public hearing and action on ordinance number 235, 2019, 010S, to allow a commercial use in a general retail use in apartment G for a 1-acre tract of land comprised of 2 tracts, tract 1 being an approximate 0.5 acres out of lot 1, block S, Brownsville Land and Improvement Company subdivision share 22, Espiritu Santo Grant, tract 2 being the east half of a certain 1-acre tract of land out of lot 1, block S, Brownsville Land and Improvement Company subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, located at 25 Boca Chica Boulevard, Brownsville, Texas 78520.
So this property is approximately an acre in size. It's currently zoned apartment G, and they're asking for a specific use permit to allow commercial use, and it's fronting Boca Chica. So this went before you last month, and it was tabled because the site plan wasn't quite ready. At this time, they've made those revisions, so we will be supporting it. So here's the zoning map. So along Boca Chica, you're going to have different uses, including retail, commercial, and some apartments. This is part of the Loop Corridor in our future land use plan, which is primarily commercial, but with a heavy mixture of residential, institutional, and industrial. Community facility land uses are also permitted. Residential uses should have a density of 4 dwelling units per acre and consist primarily of single-family dwellings and attached apartment homes. So here is the aerial. So to the north, there's single-family dwelling. To the east, single-family dwelling and some commercial business along Boca Chica. To the south, single-family dwelling and commercial business, as well as to the west. So here's what it looks like. Here's a 200-foot radius map. And here's the site plan.
Is this the one without the exit in the back, right? To the alley?
Correct, yes. They will not have access right here or right here. The concrete that they're extending is for fire truck turnaround for emergency services.
And that was the item last month we tabled over, correct? That needed some kind of correction to that?
Yes, it needed some corrections, including like a bicycle rack. I think we spoke about it as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So at this time, there were 26 mailouts and 0 written opposition, and staff supports the specific use permit to allow commercial use in apartment G, AG, with the condition that the property must comply with all city codes and regulations as determined through the site plan review process.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Anybody have any comments on this one?
Remember there was somebody
Please step up.
last, oh, never mind.
So the concern,
Certainly, please, sir.
Please.
And when you get up, if you'll address your name so the ladies can record it.
Yes, my name is Oscar Atkinson. I live on 45 Honeydale Road, which is adjacent to the alley. I don't know, can I point?
Yeah, certainly.
I
I
live,
believe it's gonna be this one, right?
No.
The third one?
no, it's right here, it's actually. No, right on the corner, yes. There you
Okay,
go.
we got there.
The last one.
The corner on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one that on the alley.
yes.
The entrance to the alley, right?
I'm sorry?
Right next to the entrance to the alley, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was here last month, the previous meeting, and I voiced my opposition. I believe this project will increase the traffic flow in the alley, even though they say the access is not gonna be to the alley. My concern is that drive that was stated that it was for fire truck turnaround. I believe that driveway is going to be right in front of a gate that's on that fence currently. And they're just going to be allowing the traffic to flow to the alley instead of Boca Chica. So I'm opposed.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Can you go back to the site plan, just real quick on that? So there's no entrances to the alley or
There's a bit of a
only
gate
one
there.
entrance, one way in?
Correct, and I cut it off on this a little bit, but right here, there is a call-out on the site plan, and right here, a call-out on the site plan that says that there will be no access through the alleyway. And if it's on the site plan, it's enforceable for the specific use permit.
Anyone else here from the owners or any other opposition? Need a motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. G, second from Troy to close public. All in favor?
Aye.
Action.
Last one, move to approve.
Mr. G made a motion to approve,
Second it.
seconded by Troy. All in favor?
Aye. It was Michael.
I'm sorry, not Troy, Michael, sorry about that. Y'all sound the same.
You're forgetting names
Sorry.
tonight.
Hi, man, I'm telling you, it's been one of those days. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. G, if you could step away for a few moments, please.
Can we just make note on the record that Mr. Galansky is leaving the chambers area in regard to this discussion because he does have a conflict of interest?
Yes, sir. Item number 10, public hearing and action on ordinance number 235-2019-011S to allow a wireless communication facility in a general retail use in light industrial J for a 1.67 acre tract of land in Lot 1, RA Lake Estate, partition, Share 22, Espiritu Santo, Grant, Cameron County, Texas, located near the corner of Fish Hatchery Road and Expressway 77, Brownsville, Texas, 78520.
So this case was also before y'all last month. So I'll go through it all and then we'll talk about some of the changes. So the property is 1.67 acres. It's currently zoned light industrial J, and they're asking for a specific use permit to allow a wireless communication facility, usually known as a cell phone tower, on the property, and it's fronting the expressway. So here is the zoning map of the area. As you can see along the expressway, there's a lot of retail and industrial uses. Directly to the west, there is apartment zoning, however, it's used for single-family homes. This is part of the linkage corridor in our future land use plan, which is primarily commercial and institutional land uses. Residential uses should have a density of 6 dwelling units per acre and primarily be single-family dwelling and attached townhomes. So here is the aerial. So to the north, there's single-family dwelling and commercial business. To the east, single-family dwelling and commercial business. To the south, undeveloped land, single-family dwelling and commercial business. And to the west, undeveloped land and single-family dwelling. So here's what it looks like at the intersection of the frontage road and Fish Hatchery. Fish Hatchery, the frontage. Here's a 200-foot radius map. This case is protested. It resulted in 20.57% of the area within the 200 feet signing the opposition. So if it is approved here and it goes to City Commission, it will require a three-quarter majority vote.
Here or at the city?
At City Commission.
Okay.
Here is the site plan. And as a reminder, some of the issues were how close it was to the residential property line. 27.4 feet, whereas ordinance requires 100 feet. And also that they were proposing it to be 150 feet plus the lightning rod for a total of 160 feet. So, let me skip that. So they did go to the Board of Adjustment, and the Board of Adjustment granted them variances for both of these last night. Okay. So there were 11 mailouts and 1 written opposition. And staff does not support the specific use permit to allow a wireless communication facility in light industrial J, 7CJ. And I also wanted to point out, I'd skipped this earlier, this is a map of existing towers in the area, because that was something y'all had wanted to see last time.
Why doesn't staff support?
It does not meet the ordinance requirements regardless of if a variance was issued or not. That was separate. I know as well that there are several people here that would like to discuss this case tonight.
Yeah, we're aware of that. so.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the cell tower photo?
This one?
Yeah.
This one.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Does anybody on this have something to say on this one, please? Any opposition or support? Yes, go ahead, sir. Come on up. Did you go first this time instead of last? Did he?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I will say before I start that we've been going for a fair amount of time dealing with the staff.
I'm sorry,
Planning
can you
and
please
zoning-
state your name for the record?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. I'm Ken McKay with the law firm Baker Donaldson on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you.
Before I begin, what I want to say that we have been dealing with the planning and zoning staff for a number of months now. I have nothing but good things to say about them. They've been very complimentary. They've been very cooperative. They've assisted us in every way we can. And so I have nothing but good things to say. However, you will remember that last time we were here, the staff took the position that they opposed this permit based upon the height and spacing noncompliance, which I stood before you and acknowledged was accurate. Staff recommended that this body table the application saying basically this group did not have the ability to grant a permit without a variance. So I opposed that approach. This body accepted their recommendation and tabled this so that we could go. Last night, immediately thereafter, we made applications for 2 variances, one related to height and the other related to spacing. That hearing was last night, and this matter lasted about an hour and a half, discussed in detail, many people speaking from the neighborhood, but ultimately those 2 applications were granted. My understanding of the effect of a variance is it creates an exception to a zoning ordinance that says basically, while we acknowledge that this application does not conform to the applicable city ordinance, we, the Board of Adjustment, are granting specific exception such that noncompliance is allowed. So I was very interested in hearing the question that you just asked, which is, what is the basis for the staff's opposition to this request? I think in all candor, you didn't get a straight answer to that, because the answer is height and spacing. And so I'm a little confused because we did what we're supposed to do, we did what we're asked to do, we obtained that relief, and so we're here today. I'm happy to go through that again. I'm happy to go through it in detail. Happy to do that. But I just want to make sure that that we're clear that my understanding is that we're here to talk about things other than height and spacing because we were sent back on to get a variance. I will say that in response to another point that was made regarding the characterization of this application as being one that's been protested. I will say that my understanding is that has no impact on this body. It has an impact on the city commission hearing, but not on this body. I will also say that something that I should have made clear last time I was here is that as to wireless communication facilities, there are really 2, as to the city of Brownsville, there are 2 sets of laws with which the applicant and the body must conform. One is, of course, the city of Brownsville zoning ordinances, and the other is the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996. The reason I bring that up is because the Federal Telecommunications Act says that in order for an application for a wireless cellular facility, communications facility to be denied, that there must be substantial evidence in support of that rejection. And in fact, under the Fifth Circuit, which is the federal appeals court which governs the state of Texas, there has been ruling, I can cite you to the case, that a petition in and of itself is not sufficient to qualify under that standard. especially where that petition does not explicitly articulate the basis and the reason for the objection by the people, individuals signing it. So I'm happy to go through the whole process with you again, or my argument again. I'm happy to answer your questions, or I'm happy to defer to respond to any of the citizens who have comments, whatever pleases this group.
I suspect that your latter is most likely to be your most appropriate scenario. Would
Okay.
you wait until after that?
I'm
I
happy.
would like to clarify one thing, that you do not originally state to us last month, however, this was originally a Homeland Security request. Is that correct?
It is two things. One is that if approved, this tower will house, well, let me start again. The location of this cell tower was selected by Border Patrol. And if approved, this location will house equipment specifically dedicated to immigration control, of which I don't have security clearance to even know what that is.
Yeah, no, I understand.
The second thing is that if approved, this tower will house equipment for FirstNet, which is a separate network created for the sole use and purpose of first responders, police, fire, 911, and that equipment is for the network that's dedicated solely to them. What I did say is that in the spacing, in the height requirements of City of Brownsville, they create an exception for facilities that are under contract for use by first responders. And I acknowledge that this does not qualify. We're not under contract, but the same principle, in my view, applies because we're doing performing that same function. The third point is that if approved, this facility will house, in addition to the FirstNet equipment and the Border Patrol equipment and AT&T's equipment, with 5 additional LTE providers, which will have the effect of reducing the number of cell towers in the City of Brownsville that will be needed. Because if you'll see the chart, you'll see that there's a void right in the middle of the area in which coverage is dramatically underserved. And what you'll see is in the submissions that we have provided, which I can show again, is that the network that this AT&T is on, to the north and to the south, are at maximum capacity. So allowing this facility in the place that it is will allow some of that load to be offloaded to this tower, reducing the chances that the area north and south will be the subject to drop calls, including 911 calls. So this serves actually a much larger area than just a direct service. It impacts areas north and south of the area. And that's why this location had to be chosen, because it is the only available location that accomplishes those goals.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question for him?
I actually do. The gap in coverage you're referring to, isn't that Camp Frio?
Excuse me?
Can you go back to the cell tower site? The gap you're referring to is Fish Road, or where are you referring to?
The gap I'm referring to is here. These tower models.
Okay. And then the other thing I was gonna ask you, did you know about I guess I didn't know about this Border Patrol selecting this site. Was that known prior to the last meeting?
Yeah, he told us last meeting. That's why I asked. the
That's how
question.
you knew to ask.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that
Right.
we knew what it was gonna be used for.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, anybody else, please feel free to come.
We couldn't see what he was pointing at.
Oh, okay. Basically, if you look at the red dot and go to the green tower at the top and the green tower at the bottom, that's the area he says will be relieved and or serviced by this tower. So,
And this is LTE 5, or what is this?
LTE is just another word, an acronym for another carrier.
Oh,
okay. All right.
So Verizon, et cetera.
Okay.
Other carriers who would otherwise
Have to build up another tower. Yes, that's correct. All right, ladies and gentlemen, anybody else? Feel free. Go in. Come on up, sir. Let you go first. Suspect I'll hear 2 or 3 more. Please state your name, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Antonio L. Garcia. I live on Honeydale, 35 Honeydale. I believe that case 011 235-2019-010-S. Those complexes are going to build.
Oh, no, sir, that one's already,
Yeah, we've
we've already done that one, sir.
Yeah, well, I came in late on it.
I
It's already-
understand, but
it's
we
already
can't-
been voted on, sir.
The comment that's open right now is for the application.
These young ladies can talk to you about that one on the side, sir, but for this, we've already moved past that one, where we
I
can't bring it back.
apologize for being late then.
That's all right, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, anybody else for this other one for the what cell tower? Please.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Mi nombre es Rosalinda Perales. Estoy aquí para decirles que no estoy de acuerdo con este proyecto, esta antena. Se excede en las medidas que están pidiendo, ¿verdad? No entiendo por qué es que dieron el permiso para hacer esto. En primer lugar, pues no hay suficiente espacio, lo que estaba diciendo la carta, que se excedía en las medidas, la antena, ¿verdad? Yo no quiero esto cerca de mí porque yo estoy ahí, soy la inmediata al lugar. Pues como sabemos, este área es de huracanes, tormentas, fuertes vientos. Se va a caer en la antena y pues ¿qué es lo que va a pasar? Primero me va a llegar a mí. Yo pienso que hay muchas propiedades allá afuera, rurales, donde se pueden hacer estos negocios, ¿verdad? Muchos lugares que están solos, no hay viviendas, no hay casas, no hay gente, allá lo pueden hacer sus negocios. Para mí, si ellos quieren hacer negocio, pues yo no quiero ruido ahí, se va a acabar mi privacidad, la gente pasa ahí, es algo peligroso también para todos. Entonces, yo pienso que aquí ustedes están para representarnos a nosotros, ¿verdad? Estas personas son compañías grandes, ellos tienen de dónde agarrar, uno no tiene dinero. Entonces, si yo necesitaría un abogado, ¿quién me lo va a dar? ¿Verdad? Sabemos que estas antenas provocan mucho cáncer. También al rato voy a salir yo con cáncer y a mí ¿quién me va a apoyar en esto? Entonces yo no estoy de acuerdo. Si ellos quieren hacer su negocio, ok, ahí está mi propiedad, yo se las vendo. Hay muchos lugares donde vayan a hacerlo, pero yo no estoy de acuerdo con esto.
Algo también importante que quería hablar sobre esto es
Su nombre, por favor.
My name is Manuel Perales. I'm her son. So lo que they touched on a lightning rod, something about a lightning rod that's associated with this. So we've had actually several lightning strikes there just because of trees. We had, ¿de qué tan alto era el pino? ¿Te acuerdas?
Altísimo, sí.
Más de over 30 feet, something like that. And we have a small, a tree also that's about 20 feet, that's a mesquite. So there have been several lightning strikes there. So something that I was wondering about, if this is up there, it's probably gonna be up there to get hit by lightning. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna go hit there. It could hit away from it. And this is fairly close to our house. I don't know. Our house is right there, right next to the left where the white dot is right there. So that's the house right there. And fortunately, nobody's gotten struck by lightning. So I'm assuming if this tower goes up there, that's another big safety thing that could happen there. Y lo que dice ella, también hay varias propiedades alrededor que están más para comercial, o sea, área comercial, como cruzando el expressway hay mucho área que está por venta también. No nada más es un acre, son varios acres. So, es algo necesario para la ciudad. Si se necesitamos más coverage. Y pues completamente no estamos opuestos, pero sí con la seguridad, más que nada de la gente que vive ahí cerca también, porque pues Así como está la casa de ella, están otras casas pegadas enseguida. So, nada más quería decir eso también. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
¿Algo más?
Good evening. My name is Iris Perales, and this is my mother. And yes, the reasons that her house, just to be clear, is the one right there parallel to the longer red line right behind it. So out of all the neighbors, she's the one that would be affected the most. That would be her view in the morning versus, you know, other things. Sorry.
You can draw this. So this one.
Yes, that would be hers right there. And there are, one of the things that we researched was the health and the radiation that these antennas and towers just produce to a lot of people. And as you saw the map previously with the green dots, we already have 14 antennas around us, so that's plenty of coverage. Somebody mentioned yesterday on the Homeland Security, this tower could be used, I'm sure, if there was some negotiation. Right now, that's an AT&T representative speaking on his behalf for their business. And I think they work independently, the Homeland Security and all those EMS. So that would be independent from them. And like he kept saying, if approved, because that's just a scenario that he's providing. But the most important thing would be the safety hazard for the neighbors, pedestrians. It is an access road that's on the opposite side over here. So anything, whatever way it falls, it would be something that would affect a lot of people. So, and another question to me, of course, is my mother and her home. If the antenna were to fall, and hopefully no one gets hurt, but if there are property damages, who would be responsible for that, you know? I know that antennas also require maintenance, so if personnel would go out there to work on the antenna, she would lose privacy. And the neighborhood is the lots are big, they're 1 acre lots, but it's pretty close-knit. There's just a few neighbors around. And everyone that's been there has pretty much been established, so when they decided to purchase land in that property, that antenna wasn't there. So maybe if it was before people were trying to buy there, it would devaluate the property amount. And again, just to reemphasize that over 20% of the neighbors are against this antenna. And another point that was brought up last night is that there is a wildlife refuge very, very close by, so we don't know if the antenna would shoo away the animals that the camp currently attracts. There are a lot of activities there that the kids around the community don't get to do all the time, but there's canoeing, archery, and animal encounters, so that would be lost. That this might make an effect on that wildlife refuge. And again, there are a lot of acres, land for sale around there, not necessarily there. That's a residential place more. So we ask for your consideration on our petition against these antenna.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Real quick, just for y'all's information, and I know you can probably speak with staff about this, but whatever happens here, we aren't the final approved board. It's going to go to city commission. If it's approved, it's still going to have to go to city commission for approval. And from what I understand, since it's a protested case, they're going to need 3/4 majority, which is 5 out of the 7 commissioners to approve it. I would look into seeing when the next meeting's going to be.
It's going to be Tuesday, May the 7th.
Tuesday, May the 7th. So this coming Tuesday. I would mark that in your calendar, and I would encourage y'all, depending whatever happens here, to go there and voice your concerns.
Okay, definitely. Thank you.
Anyone else, please? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Ricardo Villarreal. My wife, Graciela Villarreal. She's got some points of,
I'm here to stress out more than anything the safety issues that cell towers. Sorry, would you like me to give anything to you? Yeah. As you all know, Brownsville is subject to hurricanes. Towers do collapse from heavy wind and rain. Falling debris happens from storms. These towers are fire hazard. They catch fires. There's criminal activity involved with these towers as well. There's also noise associated. AT&T might give you reasons why they need the tower for their business, but they don't have to go home and live with it as we do 24/7. We have to deal with safety issues such as towers collapsing, falling debris, fire hazard, criminal activities, and noise. Towers do collapse from heavy wind, again, and rain. Falling debris happens from storms, cell towers catch fire. There's criminal activity. Copper is on a high demand. Noise, the primary noises associated with these towers are AC units, generators, and sometimes high pitch when alarm deactivates. Although there might be noise levels, these levels do not ensure that the noise will not be acceptable to the neighbors. Could you imagine the lawsuit or potential problems if something falls down and hits someone in the community around our neighborhood, or maybe passing vehicles or pedestrians? What reassurance will you give us that in the future these factors will not happen? I remember back in the old days when I was a young kid, playing outside. There were many outdoor activities. We didn't have to worry much about being hit by a car, run over by a car, structures falling down, bridges, towers, like nowadays. These are the issues that new technologies arise nowadays. Do you want to add something to it? I'd also like to add, yesterday I brought up a point about the devaluation of properties. And it does devalue the property in the aspect that realtors have a hard time trying to sell the properties when there's towers near residential areas, okay? They go through negotiation where the asking price or the market price is not compatible due to the tower being there. So therefore, the property devalues when it comes to selling the property, and it's associated with the realtors. It doesn't necessarily mean that the taxes are going to decrease, because I know the city is not here to lose taxes. They're here to make money. So realtors do have a hard time trying to sell properties, and that's when the devaluation of our properties, come down. Do you want to add something to that?
well, our main concern is the safety, not just the safety of our neighbors, kids, the safety of the freeway. You can see there where the blue lines are at, that's the frontage road. They say these towers are designed to collapse, fall straight down, but you all know Murphy's Law. Things will happen when least expected. The concern for us is the noise. What kind of an environment is that going to bring for our neighborhood in the future? Like the other neighbor mentioned, all these people here are from our neighborhood. Not all of them could make it here because they all work. They have work jobs that they don't have the time to get here at 5:30. But we have a petition where I'm not sure, but I think it's only 2 or 3 of them that didn't sign. But we can get a hold of them. Other than that, saying wildlife, There's buses that go through there every day.
Through Fish
Idea
Hatchery.
drives right down Fish Hatchery. You know, it's just a concern, a safety concern, mainly a safety concern. Like one of our neighbors said, there's been lightning strikes there several times. We've been there.
We've experienced them.
We've experienced them, and these are just trees, ladies and gentlemen, just trees. Now, can you imagine what kind of potential danger it could be with a tower of 160 feet high? I know they have their lightning rods and everything, but you're not going to live there. None of you are going to live there to see this every day as we are. And we're here to say that we don't want it, and we urge that you all agree with what we're saying. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
I'd like to conclude something before we step out. We already have 15 antennas in a 10-mile radius. We don't need any more antennas around our neighborhood. As a matter of fact, Verizon is about half a mile away from where we live, okay? If Border Patrol needs the assistance because of their radio technology is not compatible, I'm sure they can work a deal with Verizon or any other antennas around. Why another antenna? Why in that particular spot? There's a land next to the Resaca that it's being for sale. I believe it's $2 million. I'm sure AT&T can come up with that money. Why there? There's no residents in that area. It's a little bit over an acre. We're not against the antenna, but what we are against is that it's near our neighborhood, okay? There's other properties, again, that are for sale in very close by, okay?
Isn't there a couple on the north side of that property?
Right next to the Resaca.
Where are you all located?
This
We're
one-
located right here.
Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
this is the property that I'm saying that this is for sale, okay? This is our property right here.
Where's the Resaca line, or the
The
irrigation?
the Resaca,
Where's
the-
the drainage?
It's
It's
a
right here.
Sorry.
Now,
this is it. And it runs all the way across over here. Now, there's an acre right here available.
And you all have acre
There's
lots?
this is for sale as well,
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Size of your lot, is it an acre?
an acre too. Basically, all this neighborhood is acre lots,
Okay.
okay?
It's a private neighborhood, and it's very quiet, very peaceful. Nobody, you know, it's just a very quiet neighborhood. And we don't feel that having this antenna would be benefit for our safety.
Well, just to be clear, I guess for us, you're not opposed to an antenna being built. You're just opposed to it being built next to that property.
Exactly.
Well,
And
we're
you-
not opposed, we're not against technology moving forward. What we are opposed is that antenna going up close to our neighborhood, and especially right behind our neighbor that just finished talking.
Well, yeah,
Yes, sir.
that's what I'm asking, is like,
She's-
you're not opposed to the antenna, you're just opposed to it being located at that
The
area.
location,
Yeah,
yes.
you think
That's
that
why.
you think there's other areas?
Exactly.
Okay.
I keep stressing out this location right here, there's no houses around. Now, keep in mind that if this antenna, you all saw those pictures, okay? Keep in mind, if this antenna in the future, you know, keep in mind, there's hurricanes, okay? If this were to fall, cars drive by the frontage road.
Well, the antenna's only 160 feet, and these are acre lots.
Yeah, but there's
So-
debris also, you know, that flies, okay? Our neighbor, she's 70 feet away from her property line. That antenna, it's 160 tall, okay? It will reach her property,
Okay.
okay? Not only her property line, but her structure as well.
No, I
Okay.
understand.
Now, it was mentioned yesterday that there's two sheds on this, was it this one? Near the property line. Regardless what it is, if it's a storage, that doesn't necessarily mean that nobody's going to go in there, okay? You never know when fate might happen to someone.
What was mentioned yesterday afternoon, that if you see this little section here and there's one back, yeah, it's already.
Wait,
I
where?
can't see it.
They're sheds, but still, like my wife was saying, how do we know, we're not God to say what's gonna happen, God forbid anything happens, but still, they're sheds where people walk in there. They have their utilities or whatever they have in there. Yeah, they might be sheds, but still, its property belongs to our neighbors.
There's more that I like to mention. Next to the flea market, we have the Half House. We have a lot of people.
The halfway house?
Yes.
Halfway house. There's a lot of pedestrians that walk right.
And they
right-
go to the stripes.
If you look at it, there's a little,
A
they even made
trail,
a
a trail.
trail
There's
going
a trail.
straight down there, because there's no
Oh, okay.
sidewalks or anything
There's
to
no-
walk.
uh-huh.
So they just walk right on, and they even made their own little trail where they walk, 'cause they can't walk on the frontage road, 'cause,
It's
I mean,
dangerous.
cars will
Lady,
run over
I
them.
understand that, but that has really no direct bearing on the project
The
and
point
its
here
impact
is-
on the houses immediately adjacent to it.
The point here is that it will increase people break-ins into that tower. Like I
Okay.
said, COIL is on demand,
Understand, thank you. very much.
okay? Before I conclude, I'd like to ask the rest of the protesters to please stand up so they can be acknowledged and to thank them for their support.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, yeah, but you can have your turn, sir, yes, sir.
My name is Gilberto Hernandez, and I'm also a resident in the same neighborhood. And the one thing that I would hate to see is, yes, the safety, the concerns, the gentleman also mentioned, the hospital helicopter flies over our homes. And, what if it's, a day where you have a lot of dew or fog and you can't see, and they end up hitting that antenna, well, you're gonna have a lot more victims than just the one they're carrying. The other is, my home, when I come out in the morning every day to take my puppy out, I like nature, and that's why I moved there. And I like the fact that yes, they are acre lots, but for me to walk out every morning and see an antenna, I will be seeing that antenna directly every morning. And the cost. There's a cost that we're not seeing right now, and that's gonna be in our taxes, or if we ever sell the property. As Richard and Gracie mentioned, we try and sell our property and there's a big antenna, people are gonna be like, why would I wanna live next to a big antenna? I mean, think of your home. If you walked out and saw an antenna 200 feet, just right in front of you, and it sticks out 160 feet, that's like a 16-story building. Whether it's an antenna or not, it is that, a building. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Before we'll let you come back up in a second, sir. Just a couple of things that I will address. I'm going to make this address only primarily because I typically don't vote in these things unless there's a tie. I happen to manage a community that has two 1,000-foot cell phone towers in it. Some of the concerns that were expressed were animals. I actually manage the city of Fort Mansfield, probably the most picturesque town in South Texas. 450 head of deer, 200 turkey, ungodly amounts of feral hogs, and there's no impact on animals and has had zero impact on tourism. I'm not saying it doesn't cause disease. I have no idea. That's way beyond my spectrum. But some of the concerns that have been expressed, I can relieve them by telling you the most picturesque city or town in South Texas has two 1,000-foot towers. So that might make you feel a little better on the animal side of the house. The other one that I want to make sure everybody understands is, yes, right now, this gentleman, whomever he represents, or any other company, is trying to put a cell phone tower there. This property is zoned for industrial use. That means tomorrow afternoon, if he decides he doesn't want to buy that property or put a tower there, somebody could put an industrial complex in your backyard, which may be a significantly uglier site than a cell phone tower. Again, I'm not a fan of cell phone towers. I tell you, I drive to Willacy County every single day and watch 500 windmills fly around, and they disgust me. But that's the way life is now, and I hate it. I don't like it. I don't think what it does to the state of Texas. But those are the things that we have to understand as a board. We have to consider all of that in our decision-making. So please understand that we understand your point. I'm not saying he was going to vote because I haven't got a clue. They surprised me 2 months ago when they voted down something I thought was a shoo-in. So please understand, I just want to express to you a couple of concerns. One is that the animal safety shouldn't be a tremendous concern, and that the whole idea of the industrial thing, you just need to remember that, yeah, this may not be your favorite site in the world, but it could get significantly uglier if somebody puts an industrial complex in there. So, yes, sir, you have any comments?
So I can go through and tick each one off, or I can answer your questions, or?
I don't have any questions, so.
I do have a question for
Okay.
you. Well, actually, it's more a question to staff in relation to what you were told about the application.
Okay.
I understand that they previously mentioned to you that the parts of this that were out of compliance, or out of the ordinance, out of code with the ordinance, was the height and the setback distance. And I remember you mentioned, I remember that was what we were dealing with the whole time we met last night. Have you been told if there's anything else beyond that that would leave you out of compliance or out of?
No, and in fact, I mean, I personally consulted with the staff about next steps. You'll recall I would say generously, there was some confusion last time we were here about what procedurally the thing was to do, and I wanted to be on the same page with staff. And so based upon sort of my understanding of what their objections were, we determined that the two things that we knew, and I stood before you last time, saying we knew that we were not in compliance with the zoning ordinance related to height and spacing. And that's the basis. So we filed two separate variance applications that were heard last night on those two things.
Okay. Francesca, on that note, you mentioned that staff doesn't recommend because they're not in compliance. Is that because of the height and the distance, the setback distance, or is there something else on top of that?
It would be both of those. So staff, regardless of Board of Adjustments,
You have to stick by standard policy regardless if you have a variance.
well, we still have concerns over the safety aspects of it as well, being that close. That's why the ordinance was put in place in the first place. Last night for the variance, staff also did not support that either.
No, I understand, yeah.
I think I remember the third thing being the fence.
Which we have agreed to do. We agreed to fix that.
Hi.
So that's,
I just couldn't remember exactly what the third one was.
Anybody here on this side? Need a motion to close? Thank you for your time.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Have a motion from Troy and a second from Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need an action?
Motion to approve?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to address a few things. So we do have some safety concerns, like I was just stating, as well. I'd also like to point out that I spoke with the Brownsville Police Department commander, who says that they have no issue with drop calls in this area. I want to be clear on that. He has spoken to several dispatchers, and none of them have recalled any issues in the area. I'd also like to point out that the industrial use that the property has, the 7th commercial, does not allow for noxious uses. So it wouldn't allow for any irritants to travel into the adjacent property owners.
Yeah.
So I wanted to point that out as well. Also, it has come to our attention that the variance granted last night was for 150 feet. Whereas,
Oh, the height of the tower.
yes,
Okay.
whereas, and that it seems to be what they requested. However, when you look at the site plan, it's a total of 160 feet.
So it's still, they still need a variance, then.
Well, yeah.
Or make adjustments.
A new adjustment to the drawing because they only had 12 hours to make that adjustment. So, yeah, I understand.
I'm just kind of curious where the housing storages and all that stuff going to go on that
It's,
site plan.
from what I talked to Mr. G beforehand, it's about 25 feet to the left-hand side of the triangle, the triangle.
I'm sorry, what are you trying to identify?
Where the
No, I'm
the
sorry,
sheds that they're talking about.
No, I was asking where the housing is going to be. I guess since we're finding out about just equipment and immigration uses, I'm wondering where the housing is going to be.
So the area that they've leased is this, to my knowledge, is this 53 by 53 by 53 triangle right here.
Right.
Okay.
So that should be where everything is housed within this. And then what you see right here, this is the access.
I know, but if we're being told there's going to be other stuff in the site plan, whereas I don't see it on the plans itself.
And this is a specific use permit, so
They can't modify it.
not without coming back through here. So if they're building structures beyond what's shown on this site plan, it will require renotice and an amendment.
But at that point, it's already going to be built.
Well, the tower.
Well, the tower would be built, but I mean, at that point, it wouldn't make a.
So they can put the normal housing of the equipment. It's usually a pretty small area, and it's included right here, and it's pretty small typically. If they're constructing anything larger than that, definitely anything outside of this 53 by 53 by 53 triangle, it will require an amendment. So I'm not sure to what extent they're planning on constructing out there. This is what has been submitted to us.
Understand. So, in rebuttal to just a comment to your thing about the police and all that, I can tell you from having been one of those DHS guys that found cell phone sites in the past, I did it numerous times. When they say BP picked this spot, there's a reason. Whatever the reason, I have no idea. But we had different reasons when I was in the Coast Guard to pick cell phone tower sites. And I'm sure they're comparable. But just because the police department hasn't lost cause, it doesn't mean there's not a DHS reason for that piece of property to be identified specifically. So I understand. I agree.
You'd have to keep in mind, though, if they really wanted it, why would they go through this trouble and
No,
just
no, I
annex it?
understand.
You know, like, just take it.
Oh, I
I
agree.
mean, they've been.
It takes the city to initiate.
That's
They're
correct.
the ones with that
Yeah, the
authority, not
WEP
the-
can't go and say, we're going to build
Well,
something unless they buy the land. So
I'm just saying that would seem the more appropriate avenue.
that is right. All right, now we have a motion.
I want to clarify, you said, is it 150 or 160, sir, from last night?
Gotta go.
I would ask that we reopen public hearing if
Oh,
you're
I'm
going to.
sorry.
Oh,
I would like to make a motion to reopen
Yeah,
public
yeah.
hearing.
Second.
Thank you very much, man.
All in favor?
I just want clarification.
Sure. In our specific use permit, we disclosed that the antenna is 150 feet tall.
Okay.
We also disclosed that the lightning rod is 10 feet higher than that. So, I mean, we've disclosed both of those things in the specific use permit, and that's in our application. So however they want to characterize it, we've disclosed both of those facts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now,
And just from my point of clarification, since you're already up here, that's going to be the only structure that's going to be built at this point. There's not going to be any other storage sheds or other buildings that are going to be built next to it.
We produced complete construction drawings. So every single thing that we're going to build
Is on that.
is on that.
Is on that.
And in the event we build more, then we will have to go, well, first of all, even for that, we're going to have to get a building permit, right? So even for that, to the extent that we build anything else, which is unforeseeable at this point, then we would have to come back again and get permission to do that. And that was what she said is true. And that's what we, that's why we're going through this process.
Okay. Okay.
If I may, he's correct, and in the application he submitted, what he submitted is proper. It's 150 for the antenna and 10 for the rod. However, in what he submitted to the Board of Adjustment, it was different. Staff has, at this point, no way of knowing which ones he's building, or if their mind was changed between what they submitted here and what they submitted there. So all I'm saying is that when the construction documents are submitted with their building permit, that may or may not be an issue depending on interpretation at this point. So we'll definitely, is something that we'll discuss with our legal team and make sure that is conform.
Okay.
Sir, have this discussion that just occurred, have you had this before with staff?
Not once.
So this is the first time you're hearing?
Yes, which is in and of itself disturbing. But I will say that, again, I am very careful because each jurisdiction measures the height differently. And so I don't attempt to say this is 150 feet or this is 160 feet, because some people judge it by the antenna, some people judge it by the by the lightning rod, and so we disclose these facts and say, you decide what it is. And I think what she just said is a mischaracterization, because I will show you, we submitted the complete construction drawings in connection with the variance, which clearly indicates that the antenna is 150 feet and the lightning rod is 10 feet above that. So the characterization she mentioned not only is accurate, but we didn't hear one word of it until just then.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is an issue that has just come to our attention, and that is why we're bringing it forward now. We would have definitely contacted the applicant prior to this public hearing if we had realized it. A couple other things I want to point out. For the specific use permit, the site plan is what's approved, not a construction packet. So he is correct that it will have to go and get building permits.
Sure.
Definitely, we do not make any changes to the site plan. What they submit is what we take. Additionally, to the Board of Adjustment application, they listed a C-attached letter. In that letter, they requested 150-foot variance. Now, the variance is a separate issue, and as Ms. Minor has pointed out, that's something that we will discuss further. But tonight, it is the specific use permit that's up for discussion.
Which, okay.
I make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
Have a motion again and a second again to close public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
I need an action.
Make a motion to approve the 150-foot tower with the 10-foot lightning rod.
I second that.
So
I have a
as
motion
presented in the site plan.
Yes, correct. I have a motion from Troy and a second from Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries.
Before we continue, for the public that are still here, I
Yeah.
want to say again that this will have another public hearing date
That's right.
on Tuesday, May the 7th, this coming Tuesday, at 6 p.m. in the same chamber.
And strongly encourage you to attend, please, so you can express yourselves to the commissioners themselves or the city commissioners themselves. Thank you. All right, sorry, number 11 has been removed from the agenda, so number 12, please. I'm going to get Mr. G back. And for everybody's information, the reason Mr. Galonsky was removed is because Mr. Galonsky has an interest in that property, and he has been asked to step out so not to impact the decision. I'll let him in.
Item number 12, public hearing and action on ordinance number 235, 2019-020, to rezone from medium retail G to apartment H for a 2.738 acre tract out of a 13.25 acre tract out of RB Renfro subdivision and 8.0 acre tract of land adjacent to said Renfro subdivision, said 13.25 acre tract and 8.0 acre tract being the same, convoyed to F.W. Wheeler by John Ferry and wife, located at 2100 Laredo Road, Brownsville, Texas 78520.
For the record, Mr. Galonsky is back in the...
Yes,
I
please.
just want to say how many steps I walk.
Probably a lot. I told you to get a beer, sir. So,
Okay, so this property is 2.738 acres. It's currently zoned medium retail G, 3CG, and they're asking it to be rezoned to apartment H, AH. The proposed use is for apartments, and the property is located at the intersection of Laredo Road and West Ruben M. Torres Senior Boulevard. So here is the zoning map. This property is currently medium retail, third commercial. To the south, there's going to be general retail. It's a purple. A little further south on the other side of Laredo is dwelling, and then light industrial, seventh commercial. Across Ruben M. Torres, there is a specific use permit for apartments across the street. And a little further down Ruben M. Torres is more apartment zoning. So this property is within the Town Corridor, Subregional Node, and Transition West District. The Town Corridor is primarily residential with small clusters of commercial land uses at regularly spaced intervals. Residential uses should have a density of 3 dwelling units per acre and consist primarily of single-family dwellings. The Subregional Node is a balance of commercial and residential land uses so that neither uses take prominence over the other. Community facilities and institutional uses are also present and support the residential nature of the node. Residential should have a average density of 9 dwelling units per acre and consists primarily of attached apartments and townhomes. Transition West District is predominantly residential with a healthy mix of community facilities, commercial businesses, and institutional uses. Residential land uses should have a density of 2 dwelling units per acre and consist primarily of single-family dwellings. So here's the aerial. It's currently vacant. I would point out that right here, this has already been developed. There's a plaza and a restaurant and a few other things.
I think Kiki's is there, or some Mexican restaurant that's right there?
I think it's like,
Kika's or
yes, it's like a taco
yeah.
place. To the north, there's undeveloped land, civic
I know that
institution. To the east, commercial plaza, single-family dwelling. To the south, undeveloped land, single-family dwelling. And to the west, undeveloped land, single-family dwelling, and commercial business. I would like to point out in this map that this property is isolated from other properties. So Ruben M. Torres, Laredo, and then here is Arasaka.
So this is kind of like the property at the, well, no, not as bad. The one on Alton Glore
On Tandy?
at the Lakeway intersection?
Yes, although we have not received a written protest.
Oh, okay.
So here is what it looks like, according to Google. Here's a 200-foot radius mailout. So there were 14 mailouts in 0 written opposition. Staff does not support this rezoning from medium retail G, 3CG, to apartment H, AH, as the request does not conform with the future land use plan. Instead, staff suggests either a specific use permit or a conditional overlay, as the property potentially has unique characteristics that may allow apartments under the right set of circumstances and conditions. So I have met with the representative of this case, and he has agreed to a conditional overlay, restricting the amount of units down to 42, which is about 15.1 density. It's worth noting as well that by right, without having to rezone, this property could construct apartments at 12.5 units an acre.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's public hearing. Anybody have anything to say? He's come up here to convince you, Miles.
No.
Gentlemen, my name's Steve Gano. I'm partner and general counsel of the Drennan Company, and we want to build 42 units here, and we have met with staff. I've gone over our conceptual design with staff, and I believe that they are in support of our conditional overlay permitting 42 units on this site. And so I'm here to answer any questions you have and ask that you approve it.
Anybody got a question?
If I remember right, didn't we approve the apartments at the Old Port Isabel and Paredes last?
In the city decided that.
Yes, you did with a restriction on to 144 units on that site.
Okay.
But that's different site, other side of town.
Yeah. Okay.
That's coffee.
No, I just remember there was good things speaking about you as a developer and you as, I just remember that from Mr. Whittemore.
I'm sorry.
Actually,
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion and a second from Frank and Troy. All in favor? Action.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll actually second that.
Oh, okay. So we have, I'm going to put Miles down on an apartment thing. So yeah, Frank and Miles making a motion to approve. All in
No, I
favor?
mean, if they're committing to do a conditional overlay, just,
Certainly.
I mean, I think that's a good faith.
Yes, motion to approve.
With the
subject to
conditional.
Staff's recommendation of the conditional.
That's correct. Thank you. And Miles seconded that. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 13, public hearing and action on ordinance number 235, 2019-021, to rezone from dwelling Z to dwelling G for Lot 8, Block 2, Houston Estate Subdivision, a subdivision in Cameron County, Texas, located at 472 Cibolo Street, Brownsville, Texas, 78521.
This is Lot 8, Block 2 of Houston Estates. It's currently zoned dwelling Z, and they're asking it to be rezoned to dwelling G. They're proposing to construct a dwelling there, and it's at the intersection of Pedernales Circle and Houston Road. So here's the zoning map. The area in white is outside of city limits. The tan is dwelling inside city limits. The vast majority of this area is currently zoned dwelling with a tiny bit of retail over here on Dakota. This is part of the Employment Hub District in our future land use plan. The Employment Hub District is designed to be a mixture of uses organized around neighborhoods that have industrial uses as their anchors and are surrounded by complementary and supporting residential, community facilities, institutional, and commercial land uses. Residential uses should have a density of 4 dwelling units per acre and consist primarily of single-family dwelling, duplex, and triplex use. So the land is currently vacant. This area, the subdivision was platted prior to it being annexed into the city of Brownsville. And then it was given a blanket zoning of dwelling Z. So at this time, they're looking to develop this lot, and this zoning change would allow them to follow the same setbacks as the, yeah.
So it's a setback.
Yeah. So north is undeveloped land, single-family dwelling outside of city limits. To the east, undeveloped land, single-family dwelling, as well as to the south and to the west. Here's the area. Here's a 200-foot radius map. There were 24 mailouts and 0 written opposition, and staff supports this rezone from dwelling Z to dwelling G, DG.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a public hearing. Anybody have any questions?
Move to close public hearing?
Second.
Have a motion from Miles and a second from Troy. All in favor?
Aye. Move to approve.
Have a motion from Troy to approve, second from Miles to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 14, public hearing and action on ordinance number 235, 2019-022 CO to rezone from general retail G to apartment H for Lot 4, Block 1, Mazo Commercial Park Subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, located at 7100 Via del Mar Circle, Brownsville, Texas 78521.
This property is 1.05 acres. It's currently zoned general retail G, 4CG, and they're asking it to rezone to apartment H, AH-CO with the conditional overlay. Similar to the previous apartment case, the applicant has agreed with to have a conditional overlay restricting it to a maximum of 14 units. So here is the area. Most of this area is zoned general retail. However, in this little subdivision, there is quite a bit of apartments. It's worth noting that these apartment H right here were approved in a similar fashion with a very similar conditional overlay. This is part of the linkage corridor and sub-regional node in our future land use plan. The linkage corridor is primarily commercial and institutional land uses. Residential uses should have a density of 6 dwelling units per acre. The sub-regional node is a balance of commercial and residential land uses so that neither category takes prominence over the other. Ultimately, the residential uses should have an average density of 9 dwelling units per acre and consist primarily of attached apartments and townhomes. So here is the aerial. To the north, there's apartment, commercial development. To the east, undeveloped land, commercial development, and soon-to-be apartments. To the south, there's apartment and undeveloped land. And to the west, there's commercial development and single-family dwelling. Here's the aerial. I'm sorry, the street view from Google.
So they're only going to put 14 units on that whole big piece of property?
1.05 acres. So I think it might be a little deceiving because I think there's actually 2 vacant lots next to each other.
Two lots in the picture. That's huge. It looks a lot bigger than you described. Okay, thank you.
So here is the 200-foot radius map. There were 21 mailouts and 0 written opposition, and staff supports the rezone from general retail G, 4CG to apartment H, AH-CO with the conditional overlay to allow a maximum of 14 units.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Anybody have any questions?
Motion to close public hearing?
Motion closed, and a second from Miles, second from Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Mr. GA made the motion to approve.
Subject to the conditional overlay?
With the conditional overlay.
Second.
Miles seconds that. All in favor? 2 apartments in an evening. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 15, public hearing and action on ordinance number 235, 2019-023 to rezone from general retail F to general retail H for the rear half of Lot 6, Block 156, original town site of Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas, located at 1134 East 9th Street, Brownsville, Texas 78520.
So this property is 0.0689 of an acre. It's approximately half of a downtown lot. It's currently zoned General Retail F, 4CF, and they're asking it to be rezoned to General Retail H, 4CH. The proposed use is for a law office, and it's fronting east, it's fronting East 9th Street. So here is the zoning map. As you can see, the entire area, just about, is zoned fourth commercial. This is part of the downtown node in our future land use plan. The downtown node is primarily commercial land uses, but residential, community facilities, and institutional uses are also present. No industrial uses should be allowed. The average density of residential land uses in the entire downtown node should be 21 dwelling units per acre. So here's what we're talking about. To the north, there's going to be professional office and civic institution. To the east, there's going to be professional offices and civic institution. To the south, single-family dwelling and commercial development. And to the west, single-family dwelling, apartment, and professional office. Here is the site. I wanted to clarify, this kind of looks like a house. It's not a house, it's a law office. Here's a 200-foot radius map. There were 14 mailouts and 0 written opposition, and staff supports this rezone from dwelling Z. Oh, that is wrong. Staff supports this rezoning from general retail
F to G, right? That's what we're doing.
No,
General
it's in
retail-
here. From general
F.
retail F to general retail H.
F to H.
4CF to general retail.
4CH.
And our usual downtown protesters are not here this evening, so they did not protest this, I assume?
No, that's a nice project.
I don't know about the competition.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about another law office around that area.
There's like 19 law offices.
Is the applicant here?
Yes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a public hearing. Anybody have anything they want to say?
I think that's neat.
Take a motion.
We're joking.
Anybody want to close it?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Have a close, from Troy and a second from Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Action.
Move to approve.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second from the two lawyers. All in favor?
Show that we are not biased.
Solidarity.
We make it cheap for them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor.
Anybody opposed? Motion, that is our last one, ladies and gentlemen. We are adjourned.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.